evening and a very warm welcome to Clydesdale Cricket Club in Glasgow for the first episode of the Long Hop Down Under, your indispensable guide to Scotland's progress through the ICC Cricket World Cup. And what a World Cup it's been so far. Only 3 days in and already some remarkable stories. Australia and New Zealand, both host countries, off to a winning start, and comfortably so. Ireland upsetting the West Indies earlier on today. And what about India and Pakistan? The most watched cricket match in history. We're here at 8:30 every evening of the Scotland matches with a galaxy of stars from Scottish sport, broadcasting and even politics. And for fans of Game of Thrones, well, we have a special treat for you tonight a little later on. We'll also have news, views and interviews from our crew in Australia and New Zealand, and you can get involved at home as well with our weekly competition. And if you want to contact us, you can do so on Twitter at QTV_sports, and the hashtag is #FollowScotland. I'm also delighted to be joined in the midst of a throng of Scotland fans here at Clydesdale Cricket Club by our guest club of the week, Ayr Cricket Club. Big hand. As well as celebrating a long association with New Zealand, Ayr Cricket Club will also be taking part in the all-important Bowl-Off Challenge, and we'll see how 5 of their finest fare a little later on in the programme. So, formalities over and time to meet our first guest. As a player in the 80s, he was capped for Scotland, and for over 20 years as a coach has overseen the growth and development of successive generations of Scottish cricketers. As chairman of selectors from 2009, I'm pretty sure he's the most nervous man in the bar tonight, but please give him a very warm welcome, Iain Kennedy! Iain, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Nice to see you.
Have a seat, please.
Thank you.
So, chairman of selectors, the eve of Scotland's World Cup campaign, is it fair to say that the buck stops about there?
No, it's about, how many miles away is it?
About 13,000.
Yeah, it's about 13,000 miles away. I'm very pleased to say my main responsibility was carried out a month ago, so I've basically passed the baton over to Grant and the coaching staff out in New Zealand and Australia, and the ball's very firmly in their court now.
You must be delighted at the performances so far of the whole squad, all 15 players that have gone. They've had a great warm-up.
Yeah, it's been really outstanding actually. You couldn't really have asked for much more. Every player in the squad's had a run out at some time. All of them have either managed to score some runs or take some wickets, which has really escalated the confidence to a sky-high level. I think we're probably in the best place we've ever been coming into a world tournament.
Well, this is something that a lot of people have been commenting on, that this is the best prepared Scotland have ever been for a World Cup. What do you put that down to? Well,
there's a couple of things. I think the time lapse from when we were in the last time, it's some 8 years ago, and of course the whole world of sport has moved on significantly since then in terms of preparation. I think specifically this squad have benefited from, since the 15 were announced, and before that they've all been on full-time contracts, so they've been able to spend all their time preparing. We've probably brought together the best group of coaches we've ever had. Some people might want to argue about that, but I would go along with that. I would also say one of the things that's been really, really important is they've been able to participate in what I would call really good acclimatisation competitions over in Tasmania and New Zealand, and also out at Dubai. So they have had a lot of time on task. Is really, that's what we were hoping to get in.
That professionalisation of cricket is possibly the biggest change since the last World Cup. It's fair to say that this is pretty much entirely now a professional, full-time cricket team that we're sending out,
yeah,
isn't it?
Very much so. There's no way, I think, Scotland as a country could even have got close to qualifying, because the teams that we qualified against are also very professional. So if we hadn't been professional in the qualifying campaign, we wouldn't be where we are now, with such a good chance of making an impact.
One of the other changes that I've noticed, certainly covering Scottish cricket over the last couple of years, is that the performance pool seems to have grown. So the pool of players from which you can draw your squad seems to have grown, and we've seen in competitions like the North Sea Pro Series, for example, that players are able to play at a level above club cricket, but not quite at international level. Is that making your job easier or harder as a selector?
Well, it's actually making it easier because, without being unkind, when I started as a selector, not the chairman of selectors, you could almost write the 11 players down in the team sheet for every game. And as you've alluded to there, I think the developments of the game in Scotland have allowed us to have more players who are ready to go on to maybe not the world stage, but the stage below that. And if you look at the 25 we picked, there's 4 or 5 boys that didn't get taken there who could arguably say that they'll be pretty disappointed. So the answer to your question is yes.
Just a word about Grant Bradburn. You mentioned him a second ago, and the team of coaches that he has around him as well. It's not just down to one man. There seems to be a focus about Grant, a steeliness about him. He's a quiet man, but he's a man with a quiet determination. How impressed have you been with him in his first 6 months? Yeah,
very impressed. I think one of the big things that struck me is he never came into the job telling us what he was going to do. He didn't say we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the next thing. He took his time to measure the squad of players that he had in front of him, those in the periphery, and he's guided with a very soft hand a group of players towards this particular competition. So no bluster, it's all been calculated.
Well, we'll hear from Grant Bradburn later on in the series. Iain, I hope you'll stay with us for the rest of the show. For now, Iain Kennedy, everybody. Thank you. So over the next 5 weeks, our fair-skinned reporter, Nick Rugby, will be doing his best to dodge the Southern Hemisphere sunshine as he follows Scotland around New Zealand and Tasmania. Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions, we can't show you a lot of the best stuff that he's capturing inside the Scotland camp, but what we can show you is the warm welcome that greeted the team as they arrived in Dunedin.
A year in the making, Scotland's World Cup adventure received the support of the First Minister, along with the hopes of the nation's cricket fans. A cold winter's day in Glasgow saw the squad depart for warmer climes, and a shot at proving themselves among the best in the country's history. A long trip, but the Scotland squad did finally arrive at the World Cup. The mountain range known as the Remarkables immediately draws the eye at Queenstown, a brief if spectacular stop en route to their base for the first game. And for that first match, they're here in Dunedin. It's a place of familiar faces and street names to match. A very Scottish welcome too, as the team were officially received at the tournament. 3rd, 4th and 5th generation Scots keen to welcome their second favourite team.
This is unbelievable. It feels like you're back in Scotland here. So I think the first game, I think the support might be split. It won't be all New Zealand. I think we will have a lot of support here as well, which is great.
Did you expect this kind of welcome when you came to Dunedin?
Not at all. We obviously knew it's the home of Edinburgh as well, the second Edinburgh. But obviously to receive this welcome it really is like a home from home for us. And I think that just seeing the amount of people who turn out here today is absolutely phenomenal for us. And obviously the pipers and just the support we actually receive here is brilliant.
Bit of a cliche, but a wee boost going into a game. You know you're up against the crowd and the home nation and stuff, but convince a few people to carry a saltire makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it also just shows that we're really approachable people, and obviously we're just here for the fun of it as well. And I think that it is massive for the crowd as well as us. So I think that's key.
Dunedin certainly celebrates its Scottish heritage, but it's a place that has some other interesting quirks too. This is Baldwin Street. It's in the Guinness Book of Records as the steepest residential street in the world. And Scotland certainly face an uphill struggle in their first match of the Cricket World Cup as they take on the home nation in their own backyard.
Preparation has been intense, but management claim that this is the best prepared Scottish side that's ever been sent to a World Cup. Hamish Rutherford played against Scotland for the New Zealand A side last year. He also spent time as a teenager playing for Ayr on the west coast, and he believes the home side, the Black Caps, will not be taking Scotland lightly.
The way they maybe played the other day against Zimbabwe, I think they might have been a little bit, not worried about that, but that would have annoyed a few of them, because you can't just decide that against Scotland you're not going to turn up and then maybe the following game against Australia, for instance, now we've got to turn up and play our cricket. So you need to make sure everything's consistent, and I'm sure the lads will be.
Scotland have never won a World Cup match, and in a place famed for its natural beauty, they'll have to rewrite the record books to make their own mark down under.
A warm welcome indeed for Scotland, and more from Hamish Rutherford later on in the programme. Now, our second guest is probably as famous in Dunedin as he is in Glasgow. He's played a corner shop owner, a leather salesman, and even a professor of dentistry. He's probably best known to everybody in this room as Naveed. Let's find out if he's still game. Please welcome Sanjeev Kohli. Sanjeev, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I suppose the best place to start is not to draw a stereotype, but with India against Pakistan, the most watched match ever in the history of cricket, and you missed it.
I may be the only person that didn't watch it in the universe. Apparently there were viewers in Jupiter. No, I missed it, and don't draw me on my loyalties, because you know, I've lived in Glasgow long enough to know not to wear blue or green in any scenario. In fact, I've just noticed the bottom of my shoes. No, I'm fine, I'm good. But I am I'm second generation Indian. But I'm you know, well done to India, by the way. It was just funny though, I didn't watch the game, but I did follow some of the tweets. And oh man, there was a lot of gloating, from the Indians.
It does feel almost like an old firm fervour, if we could draw a West of Scotland analogy.
Oh no, completely though, and you know, because I mean, I've heard it said that actually the Asian community in Glasgow, talking about the old firm, they align themselves. So you've got a lot of Indians supporting Rangers because they wear blue, a lot of Pakistanis supporting Celtic because they wear green, and that's not even a joke. That's actually true. But with watching the Twitter feed today, I mean, some guys are saying, can we not just get Kashmir now? They're actually using the Indian crushing of Pakistan as some kind of mandate to take Kashmir back, which I don't think that's going to work.
I think that's probably taking it a little bit far. What was your upbringing like? Because cricket almost accidentally played a role in your childhood, didn't it?
Yeah, well, my dad had no interest in sport whatsoever. You know, he could have chosen kabaddi, hockey, cricket, but my dad just had no interest. And I just remember just playing cricket with my cousins, and it's the stereotype, but it's true. The only, of the 10 people, I grew up in Bishopbriggs in north of Glasgow, and of the maybe 15 or 20 folk that played, mostly Asian kids. And I don't know where it came from. I mean, it must have skipped a generation, but I wasn't the best cricketer, but I was one of the few. And I know certainly at school, we didn't have, I went to rugby school, and everyone played football, but there wasn't a football team. It was a private school, so it was that kind of, it was a rugby school. And then we suddenly had a cricket team in 5th year. And the gym teacher assumed that I could play cricket. He said, I take it you play cricket? I said, how very? Yes, I do. Yeah. You're not being racist, I do actually play cricket. And I was made the captain. I was incredibly mediocre.
What was your particular skill set?
As a spin bowler, a right arm bowler. I could bowl a wrong one. I was a rubbish batter. I was not a bad close fielder. Not a bad close fielder for someone that's so short-sighted. But I had no throwing arms, so that's probably why I was a good close fielder.
You could get a game from our team by the description of.
I've heard, and I've got my own van. But no, I was a tidy right arm. It's important. And it's lovely in the back, it's all seated. And right arm over. And I remember once actually we were playing a really quite good cricket team, and they were gubbing us, and then I came up to bowl, and I bowled, I basically I stepped over the crease for the first 2 bowls. So then I was kind of doing that thing of kind of galloping, trying to hit the crease, and I was looking down, and I bowled a long hop about Derek Underwood pace, really quite slow, and it went doink, 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 wicket. It was a complete mistake, but I got a wicket, but they still gubbed us though.
There's a phrase for that we'll skip over for the time being. For somebody who's an accidental fan though, you've actually come closer to a World Cup winning team than probably anybody in this room.
I have spent time with the 1983 the India World Cup winning squad, because my dad's best pal in London stayed in Hounslow, which is in West London, which every Asian will know as sort of a small India. And his best pal knew the manager of the India squad. So bizarrely, in this kind of semi-detached house in Hounslow, which is a bit like Giffnock, the Indian World Cup cricket team were there. Ravi Shastri, Madan Lal, Kapil Dev didn't show up. Everyone was waiting for him. But everyone was there, apart from Kapil Dev and, like I say, Sunil Gavaskar. Now, the big team bus was parked outside, and everyone's having this kind of barbecue in this back garden with Ravi Shastri and Madan Lal, and was it Karwani was the wicketkeeper. And my two aunts were there, and they wanted to meet Sunil Gavaskar. And someone said, you know, he's in that tour bus that's parked around the front. So they knocked on the door. Apparently he wasn't well, right? So they kept knocking until they answered the door. And they answered the door, and we think possibly that Sunil Gavaskar was watching an adult film. In the tour bus. Now, obviously...
Well, maybe somebody can tweet him as he performs his duties for Sky Sports, and we can
well, I believe the embargo works both ways. Sunil Gavaskar didn't see me saying that. He wasn't well, blessed.
Sanjeev, for now, thanks very much. Sanjeev Kohli, everybody. There's about 300 million people on the subcontinent at the moment who would give their right arm for that story. Anyway, time for you at home to get involved now with our weekly competition. And this week we're giving away two signed copies of this fantastic book, Second 11, Cricket in its Outposts, which is a fascinating look at the development of cricket in the associate and affiliate world from Tim Wigmore and Peter Miller, and also features a chapter from our own Tim Brooks, who'll be on the sofa later in the week. To win one of these two signed copies, all you need to do is answer the question that's on your screen now. Against which country has Scotland recorded the most ODI wins? You can enter by tweeting at QTV_sports and use the hashtag #FollowScotland, please. The winner will be randomly selected, and we'll announce the winner on Sunday's show. Now, for a man who has faced down a haka, who has had his cheek smashed by a rugby tackle, but still insists that the most daunting thing he's ever done is present an hour of live television with Michelle McManus. He is one of the two best rugby players in his family. Before we meet him, let's take a look at him in action.
A great Scottish breakout as Beattie goes, and Jeffrey running. Out to Scott Hastings, and Scott Hastings has scored. Oh, what a magnificent try that was. And what a moment for the 21-year-old. The feet are tapping, the flags are in the air, and that was quite superb.
Yes, there we have it. Please give a very warm welcome to Scott Hastings. Thank you. Oh, Scott, very energetic. It's very energetic for a Monday night. You've not lost anything. Great to recollect memories like that as a 21-year-old scoring a try, and what at the time, I don't know if it still remains Scotland's biggest ever victory over England.
That's right, 33 points to 6. My first try for Scotland, and my first time I got hold of the Calcutta Cup. So it was a rather special moment. But a 21-year-old girl, I'm sitting here feeling, you know, that was a long time ago.
Did you take better care of it than Jim Jeffries did?
Yeah. John, unfortunately, he kind of sat in it and squashed it.
It would have been weird if Jim Jeffries had had it. I'm sorry, John Jeffries.
No, it was good fun.
And only a year later, away with the Scotland team to your first World Cup, which of course was down under.
Yeah.
And a chance to face New Zealand.
So yeah, it was 1987, the first ever Rugby World Cup, and interesting enough, down in Dunedin I was as well. And unfortunately, I got injured down there. I was playing at Carisbrooke. They called it the House of Pain. And my brother, in his wisdom, decided to make a switch kick-off. We were playing against Romania. He switched the kick-off, and I sprinted across the 10-yard line and pulled my hamstring. I was on the pitch for literally less than 10 seconds. I walked off, that was me injured, and I was on a flight on the way home.
You got the chance to face a haka later?
A few times. I faced a haka a few times. I captained the Barbarians team against New Zealand in '93, Sean Fitzpatrick's All Blacks, and played in the Rugby World Cup as well. So
as terrifying as they make it out?
It's not as terrifying. It's fantastic, you know, it really is, and you know, you've got to meet fire with fire, and unfortunately never beat the All Blacks, and 7 or 8 times of trying. Got close a couple of times.
We've found some archive actually. If we just take a look at your screen, here's a look at one of the more terrifying hakas.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the guy in the middle. It's almost like the cast of Are You Being Served? Yeah. Morris dancing. But
you can see they're all kind of looking at each other because they actually don't know what to do.
It's the jump. It's the jump at the end that does it. That does it for me. Possibly before your time. That particular clip. In a few minutes' time, our Scotland cricket team are going to be in that dressing room in Dunedin, different dressing room obviously, but getting ready for the match. What kind of mindset are they getting into now? A lot of them will be the same age as you were when you first went down there in 1987.
It's a fantastic experience. It's a wonderful country. It's a country who are wrapped up in sport. They love their rugby, they love their cricket, they love all types of sport. So there'll be a real interest. You know, these guys will be like movie stars down there. They'll not have felt that before. The welcome from Dunedin, it literally is like walking down Princes Street in Edinburgh. They have a Princes Street, a statue of Robbie Burns, the whole lot. It is an amazing atmosphere. And a lot of pride down there for the Scots, actually. So I just hope that the team go out and really perform, because that ultimately is what top-level competition is all about. If teams can go out there and perform to their best ability, then hopefully they'll make a fist of it.
Well, let's hope so. Now, I promised you earlier in the programme that we would satisfy the needs and wants of Game of Thrones fans. Well, now is the time for that. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been out gathering good luck messages from people around Scotland for the Scotland cricket team. Here's the first few.
Good luck to all the boys going down under for the Cricket World Cup this week. From everybody here at Scottish Swimming, tear it up, follow Scotland.
On behalf of the Scottish Government, I'd like to wish the Scotland cricket team all the best at the World Cup. Follow Scotland.
It's Ian Glenn here, wishing the Scotland cricket team the best of fortune in the World Cup. It's great that you made the competition. Here's hoping you'll go all the way.
Ian Glenn, Sir Jorah Mormont from Game of Thrones there. What a voice, Sanjeev.
We should come to me. I played Cal Dothraki. The king of policy of the and I got it.
If you're watching, Ian Glenn, thank you so much for that. I'm pretty sure that won't be the last time we see that in the series. So let's catch up now again with Nick Rugby, our strawberry blonde reporter, on his travels around New Zealand. And find out a little bit about the opponents that Scotland will be facing tonight. We've clumsily entitled this series of interviews Home and Away, and we've managed to track down a number of international stars to preview their country's chances in this Cricket World Cup. What do they all have in common? Well, they all played their club cricket, or they played some club cricket here in the west of Scotland. And first up is New Zealand's Hamish Rutherford, who of course played for Ayr.
New Zealand cricket seems to be on something of a high at the moment. We were just talking about the fact that a lot of people are tipping them for this tournament.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's, we've had probably a very good 2 years, from Test cricket to one-day cricket and, a little bit of 2020. Especially over the last, I guess, couple of months with all the one-day cricket we've played against Sri Lanka and Pakistan. We've done really well and put some good performances on the board. I guess along with that, we are playing at home, so everyone's familiar with the hotels, the grounds, the guys' families will be around, so that does help. I guess, the further you get down the tournament though, it becomes a little bit different. The finals in Melbourne, for instance, whether we get there or not, I'm pretty sure a couple of guys have only played at the MCG, so that's very different. And New Zealand hasn't been to a final before, so that as well is, interesting.
It's interesting then that you're talking about going to a final and the sort of confidence in the team.
There is a little bit of confidence, I think. Like I said, everyone's familiar with stuff, which I think helps. By all accounts, we have a very good draw. A lot of people talk about that. But yeah, I think the brand of cricket we've been playing over the last few months is good, and hopefully that'll put us in good stead.
Give us an insight into the mindset of the guys going into a game like Scotland. Is it almost like another warm-up for the Black Caps?
No, not at all. I think they'll be treating it as any other game. I mean, I'm not sure what sort of team they'll play. I mean, I personally believe you need to take it as, you're playing one of the top sides. People talk about momentum, and I think the way they maybe played the other day against Zimbabwe, I think they might have been a little bit, not worried about that, but that would have annoyed a few of them, because you can't just decide that against Scotland you're not going to turn up, and then maybe the following game against Australia, for instance, now we've got to turn up and play our cricket. So you need to make sure everything's consistent, and I'm sure the lads will be.
Just give us some recollections, if you can, of your time playing in Scotland?
Yeah, it was great. I was there for a couple of seasons, and then last year went back with the New Zealand A team. Great country. A little bit like today with the weather-wise. You know, I had a lot of fun, met a lot of people. Still got quite close friends from my time back then.
Any kind of overriding memories, if you like, of matches you played or performances you put in when you were across there? Or?
Probably the biggest one was the recent one in the New Zealand A Tour, where I got 98 and ran off the field and hit a road cone on the way in, and I think you guys might have got it on TV, which pleased everyone in my team because I had it replayed to me about 3 weeks later.
So time for our fourth guest, and to tell us a little bit more about Scotland's hosts, a Scotsman who was born in England and who played 7 years in New Zealand. He's coached as far afield as Sri Lanka and Australia, and after the show we're going to send him to Bangladesh and Afghanistan to see if we can have him nationalised in any of the other nations in Scotland's Pool A. Please welcome Scotland's under-17 coach and the national coach of Germany, Steve Knox. Sorry to keep you waiting, Steve. Yeah, sorry to keep you waiting there. Gremlins in the system. Thanks for your patience. We were hearing from Hamish Rutherford there a little bit about the confidence in the New Zealand team. You spent a lot of time out there. Tell us a little bit about how New Zealand cricket has developed from a point where they were really one of the lower ranked teams in world cricket to a point now where they could be considered the favourites for the tournament, or one of, certainly.
Yeah, I think the main difference that I've noticed I was first out there in '98 playing club cricket, and the main thing that's changed over there is the wickets. The wickets have got better and better as the years have gone by. So the batters have got more and more confident, and they find it really easy to bat out there, and so that confidence has just sort of spread throughout the whole team. So, you know, they used to struggle to score 230, 240 in a one-day international. They're now scoring 330, 340. So it's going to be a really tough test for us tonight because they're a seriously strong batting side. But yeah, the batting's the main difference, and they've now got guys who can bowl 135, 140 kilometres an hour as well, which obviously helps.
Iain was talking at the start of the programme a little bit about the conditions out in New Zealand, and we talked also about Dunedin giving Scotland a bit of a warm welcome. The conditions in New Zealand are about as favourable as Scotland could hope for in the World Cup. You know, tonight's match is going to be tough, but going through the tournament, how much do you see that playing a factor in Scotland's performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dunedin's interesting because it's the furthest south test ground. Obviously, we're the furthest north nation up here, but they're the furthest south, so you know it doesn't get that hot. You know, it might be 22, 23 degrees tomorrow, so that's not going to be a factor. The wickets can be a little bit
piping hot, isn't it?
Everything's relative.
The wickets can be similar to Scottish wickets, but as I say, generally they've got better and better over the last 10 years. So they'll be assisting us because they won't be spin friendly. Yeah, I think we should stand ourselves in good stead. Nelson, I don't know too much about because it's a brand new ground. But we go back to Dunedin, and then Christchurch, Hagley Oval is also a brand new ground. So that's only been developed over the last 3 years. And then we go to Hobart, I think, to play 2 games out there as well. So.
Iain, you obviously share some common ground with Steve as somebody who's coached representative age groups for Scotland, and must be particularly rewarding for you to see a couple of the players that you coached at under 15 level, you know, making it all the way to the World Cup.
Yeah, it's hugely exciting for me because I know I don't look that old, but when Kyle Coetzer and Richie Berrington were in the under 15 side, I looked after them in the 90s, and it was evident from those early stages that they would be absolutely fantastic players. So it's great credit to them that they've achieved this selection.
Steve, you have a multifaceted career in coaching, it seems, and not to be patronising to the German national team in any way, because I've filmed the German national team, but a lot of people would be blissfully unaware that there is even a team in Germany. Just very briefly, tell us a little bit about cricket in Germany.
Yeah, so I think there's about 5,000 or 6,000 cricketers out there, mainly of the Asian expat population and a few British expat, but spread over a massive country. So one of the biggest challenges for them is bringing it all together and tying it all together, because they're all amateur cricketers. I think the general manager, Brian Mantle, is the only guy who's employed full-time in German cricket. So there's a lot of amateurs making massive sacrifices, but there's an enthusiasm for the game there, and they've actually got a really good junior programme for sort of the homegrown German cricketers. So whilst the national team at the moment is largely Asian expat team, in 10 years' time it won't be if they can keep developing it.
Well, I'd love to talk more about cricket, not just in Germany, but all over. Unfortunately, we are running over as a result of that technical hitch, but I don't want to do Ayr Cricket Club out of their moment of glory in our bowl-off challenge. So despite the protestations of the people behind the scenes here, we are going to give them that opportunity. Ayr, are you ready to see yourselves in action? Andy Tennant, member of Prestwick Cricket Club, are you ready to see the Ayr boys in action? Let's have a look at how they got on in our bowl-off.
Ross Mitchell, right arm slow.
Andy Rackley, right arm slow.
Adam Gilbert, specialist 12th man, really cold.
Scott McIlney, right arm mid, teeth. Sanjeev Kohli, right arm medium.
Andy, 4 points, your reaction?
Slightly disappointed in the warm-up. All 5 of us hit middle stump, so we were going for maybe 15 to 20, but sadly only 4, but well, it's a boundary, so let's come on here.
Well done, Ayr Cricket Club. 4 points on the board. They are top of the leaderboard. It is only week 1. Thanks very much for coming down, guys. Thanks to my guests, to Iain, to Sanjeev, to Scott and to Steve. I'm afraid we are out of time. Just a quick reminder for you on where you can see the coverage. As soon as this programme finishes, of course, you'll be turning over to Sky Sports World Cup, Sky Sports 2 as it was formerly known, for live coverage of New Zealand against Scotland. And if you want to catch up with highlights of that, if you're not you're not up for a late night tonight, then you can do so on STV at 11 PM tomorrow if you're watching in Scotland, and of course highlights on Sky Sports World Cup throughout the day. Thanks to our partners, UWS, to HF Electrical, to DM Hall and to Prosperity Financial Solutions for their support in making this broadcast happen. Remember, we're back next Sunday before the England game when former Scotland football manager Craig Brown will be on the sofa. But for now, good luck Scotland. Remember the hashtag, follow Scotland, give the team your support. From everybody here at Clydesdale Cricket Club in Glasgow, a very good evening.